They told us not to read too much into preseason testing. They always do. But this time, something feels off. Because while everyone was watching lap times, timing screens, and blurry leaks from behind closed doors in Barcelona, Mercedes might have been quietly laughing, not celebrating, not panicking, just hiding. And now the whispers are getting louder. Mercedes didn't top every session. They didn't chase headlines. They didn't scream dominance. But according to people who've been around this sport long enough to smell a bluff, the Silver Arrows may have just pulled off one of the biggest sandbags in recent Formula One history. Juan Pablo Montoya dropped the first real bomb. Speaking on the Montoya's podcast, he didn't dance around it. He didn't hint. He went straight for the jugular. I'll give you an idea to put things into perspective. From what I've heard, the lap times being set in Barcelona were still 3 to 4 seconds away from the car's full potential. 3 to 4 seconds. Let that sink in. In modern Formula One, teams fight over hundreds. A tenth can separate heroes from the midfield. And Montoya is saying Mercedes were cruising around Barcelona seconds off what the W17 can really do. That's not fine-tuning. That's not holding back a little fuel. That's hiding an entirely different animal. And here's the scary part. Mercedes weren't even struggling while doing it. Over just 3 days of running, George Russell and rookie Kimi Antonelli logged around 500 laps. That's more mileage than anyone else. The car ran clean. The new power unit looked reliable. No drama, no red flags, no panic, quiet, confident, controlled. Montoya went further, adding context that should make every rival nervous. As always, some will get it right and some will get it wrong. The interesting part is this. If Mercedes really is significantly ahead, then all the Mercedes-powered teams should be strong. It then becomes about figuring out who truly looks competitive, who is missing something, and where everyone actually stands. That's the reality. That's not just about Mercedes. That's about the entire grid being reshuffled if this engine is as strong as rumored. And yet, if Mercedes are hiding something massive, why isn't Toto Wolff smiling? Because Toto Wolff is doing the opposite. Every time the hype grows, he pours cold water on it. When asked about the W7's performance, Wolff didn't deny the positives, but he refused to bite. We haven't seen Max push the car, and we haven't seen McLaren or Ferrari show what they can really do. I'd therefore be careful about saying it was great for us. We simply don't know. On the surface, that sounds reasonable, sensible, calm. But in Formula One, what team bosses don't say often matters more than what they do. Wall also pointed out that Barcelona meant nothing for outright pace. I'm really happy with how it went for us in terms of the interaction between the power unit deployment and the chassis. That said, we had 3 solid days, something to build on, but we don't yet have a clear performance picture. Notice the wording. Not we're slow, not we're behind, just we don't know. And then there's Max Verstappen because Wolff keeps bringing him up. We haven't seen Max push the car. That line keeps coming back almost like a shield, almost like a distraction, because while Red Bull stayed quiet, Mercedes were clocking laps like a metronome. Faultless, relentless, gathering data, and according to Montoya, doing all of it while barely scratching the surface. Even the lap times themselves tell a strange story. Unofficial sources say Lewis Hamilton set the fastest time late in the test with a 1:16.348, just 1/10 quicker than George Russell in the Mercedes. But Montoya laughed that off. The times they were doing in Barcelona, from what I've heard, are between 3 and 4 seconds away from the car's full potential. He said to put that in perspective, when we go to Barcelona, you'll see that the pole position will be around 112 and they're doing 116. That's not chasing performance. That's refusing to show it. Cold temperatures, closed doors, new regulations, perfect excuses to hide everything. And maybe that's the point. Because when a team dominates quietly, history tells us something uncomfortable usually follows. And if Mercedes really are sitting on seconds of performance, then what we saw in Barcelona wasn't a test. It was a warning. And the rest of the grid may not realize what's coming yet. And the longer you stare at this story, the stranger it gets. Because while fans argue over lap times and screenshots, something else was happening behind the scenes, something louder, something angrier. Rivals started complaining. Whispers turned into accusations that Mercedes had found a trick with their new power unit. A clever way to work around the compression ratio rules. More horsepower, more efficiency, more speed waiting to be unlocked. And this time, Toto Wolff didn't stay calm. When those complaints reached him, the polite language disappeared. It's very clear what the regulations say. It's very clear what the standard procedures are on any power units, even outside of Formula One. So, just get your show together. That's not the voice of a man worried he's been caught. That's the voice of someone who knows exactly where the line is and knows he hasn't crossed it, which only adds fuel to the fire. Because if Mercedes didn't cheat, didn't bend the rules, didn't exploit a loophole illegally, then what exactly are they hiding? The answer might be simple. They're hiding everything. Preseason testing is not about winning headlines. It's about learning. And Mercedes learned more than anyone else. 500 laps, no reliability scares, smooth interaction between chassis and power unit, and a car that, according to multiple insiders, was getting faster as the test went on, but never fast enough to scare anyone. That's classic sandbagging, and it fits perfectly with the bigger picture Wolff keeps talking about. Because while fans are already calling George Russell a title favorite, Wolff keeps pushing back against the idea of total dominance. He openly says he doesn't want a season where one team wins everything. Maybe someone that is on a limited contract would see it. You want world dominance and win 24 races of 24, Wolff said. But that's not my perspective. He even explained why. I want to quote someone that I respect a lot that said to me once, "We would like to win both championships in the last race, in the last corner, to have an exciting season to provide good entertainment and excitement for fans and supporters." That sounds noble, almost romantic. But here's the contradiction. You don't talk like that unless you believe you have the tools to dominate if you wanted to. Mercedes, remember what happened the last time Formula One changed engine rules, 8 constructors' titles in a row, 7 drivers' championships, an era of control that reshaped the sport, and now with 2026 bringing another massive reset. Mercedes once again look prepared, calm, ready. Wolff even admitted that big performance gaps shouldn't exist anymore under the cost cap. That's why those big performance swings or performance differences, I just don't see it now. But what if that's only true for everyone else? What if Mercedes didn't create a huge swing, but a smarter one? Because sandbagging isn't about being miles ahead forever. It's about choosing when to reveal your hand. Barcelona was cold, unrepresentative, closed to the media, perfect cover. Bahrain will be warmer, faster, more telling, and Australia, that's when the masks come off. Montoya made that clear without even trying to hype it. He said testing times must be taken with a pinch of salt. That no team showed its true pace, that only qualifying really matters. But then he circled back to the same chilling idea, 3 to 4 seconds. That number keeps echoing. If even half of that is real, then Mercedes aren't just competitive. They're dangerous. And the most unsettling part, they look like they're enjoying the silence. No bold claims, no celebrations, no panic, just data laps. and a boss telling everyone to calm down while insiders quietly suggest the car is nowhere near its limit. So, here's the question that should worry every other team on the grid. What happens when Mercedes stop hiding? Because if this really was sandbagging, then Barcelona wasn't the start of the season. It was the calm before the storm. And when the W17 finally shows its true pace, the rest of Formula One might realize something far too late. They weren't watching a test. They were watching Mercedes lie in wait.